2 weeks after the first successful test, progress on the shield project slowed to a crawl. The small shield sections worked perfectly, but when they tried to connect more than 5 together, the energy pattern became unstable and collapsed. In the main lab, tension was high. Yunwoo hadn't slept in days. Yi Jun and 3 other alien engineers argued loudly over equations that covered an entire wall. It should work, Yi Jun insisted, pointing at his calculations. The math is correct. The math is correct, but reality disagrees, replied Du Jin, another human scientist. Something is missing from our understanding. Across the room, a young engineer named Sung Min sat alone, staring at nothing. Captain Junho noticed him and walked over. Are you well? Junho asked. Sung Min looked up with red eyes. I just got news. My parent city lost its local shield yesterday. The radiation. They didn't make it. Junho sat down beside him, unsure what to say. On his world, death was met with acceptance, not this raw pain humans seemed to feel. I'm starting to think we're wasting our time, Sung Min said quietly. Maybe the council was right. Maybe we should just accept the end with dignity. Before Junho could respond, the door flew open. Dr. Handviel rushed in, her eyes wide with excitement. I need to see all humans who've worked directly with the shield controls, she announced. Everyone looked confused, but Unwoo waved her hand. That would be me, Sung Min, Du Jin, and Mina. I need to scan your brains, right now, Handviel said. An hour later, Handviel stood in front of a large screen showing 4 human brain scans. The entire team had gathered to hear what she'd found. I noticed something strange when humans operated the shield controls, she explained. The shields performed 17% better under human control than when operated by any other species. Yi Jun frowned. That's not possible. Technology doesn't care who uses it. Usually no, Handviel agreed. But look at these brain patterns. She pointed to the screen. When humans work with the shield technology, these areas light up. No other species shows this pattern. Yunwoo leaned closer. What does it mean? It means, Handviel said slowly, that humans have a unique neurological structure that allows them to intuitively understand and manipulate interdimensional energy patterns. You can feel the shield in a way none of us can. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. So the solution isn't in the technology, Yunwoo said finally. It's in us. Over the next days, the project took a new direction. Instead of following standard galactic engineering protocols, they redesigned the shield technology to be operated by humans. Sung Min, no longer thinking of giving up, led a team creating a new control system. It's like learning to play a musical instrument, he explained to Captain Junho. The technology responds to our thoughts and feelings as much as to our commands. Progress was still slow, but steady. Small shield sections grew larger. 2 sections could now connect perfectly. Then 3. Then 10. But the biggest challenge remained: how to scale up to cover an entire planet. Even with humans operating the system, the energy requirements were enormous. Director Da-hyun visited the base to see the progress. After watching a demonstration of the new human-operated shields, he pulled Yunwoo and Captain Junho aside. Jin Seo can't stall the council much longer, he said. They're getting suspicious. And the radiation levels are rising faster than predicted. We have maybe 4 weeks, not 3 months. Yunwoo looked tired but determined. We need more power and more operators. The shield responds better when multiple humans work together in harmony. How many operators? Asked Da-hyun. Yunwoo hesitated. To cover the entire planet, thousands, and they would need to maintain their focus constantly. Thousands of people just sitting and focusing all day. Da-hyun looked shocked. Not just focusing, Yunwoo explained. They would need to be directly connected to the system. Their minds would become part of the shield. Captain Junho understood first. You're talking about a neural link. These people would essentially give up their normal lives to become living components of the shield. Iunmu nodded slowly. It's the only way. Dahyun looked out the window at the dying sky. Then let's build it. And I will be the first to volunteer. 3 hours after sending their message, the Starlight entered Earth's orbit. Captain Junho stood in the shuttle bay with his first contact team. Dr. Hanbiel, Security Chief Taeyong, and Communications Specialist Ji-Soo. Remember, Junho said, these people have never met aliens before. Our appearance may shock them. If they panic, we leave immediately, Taeyong added, checking his non-lethal defense weapon. Hanbiel shook her head. They won't panic. They called us, remember. The team boarded the shuttle and descended through Earth's damaged atmosphere. Through the windows, they saw great cities, vast oceans, and green forests. But they also saw the damage. Large areas burned by solar radiation, strange weather patterns, and protective domes over some cities. Their atmosphere is failing, Hanbiel said, reading her scanner. The radiation from their sun is getting through. They have maybe 3 months before the whole planet becomes unlivable. The shuttle landed on a large flat area marked with lights. Hundreds of humans stood watching from a safe distance, held back by others in uniform. A small group waited at the landing area. They look almost like the Vendari, but with less hair, Ji-Soo whispered as the door opened. Captain Junho took a deep breath and stepped onto Earth. Director Dahyun had practiced this moment in his mind 1,000 times, but nothing could prepare him for the reality of meeting actual aliens. The first one to exit the ship looked almost human except for the silvery skin and larger eyes. He, Dahyun decided, wore some kind of uniform with strange symbols. Next to Dahyun, Chief Scientist Soo-jin gasped softly. General Minho's hand moved slightly toward his gun but stopped. The alien raised his hand in what seemed like a greeting and spoke. To everyone's surprise, they understood him perfectly. I am Captain Junho of the Galactic Council ship Starlight *. We received your distress call. Dahyun stepped forward. I am Director Dahyun of the United Earth Council. Thank you for coming. We weren't sure anyone would hear us. More aliens exited the ship. One held some kind of scanning device and looked with great interest at the humans. We need to talk, Captain Junho said. Your situation is very serious. In the United Earth Council's main meeting room, both groups sat at a large table. Maps and charts covered the walls, all showing the same thing: Earth's dying atmosphere. Captain Junho listened as Soo-jin explained their situation. It started 3 years ago, she said. Our sun became unstable. The solar flares grew stronger, damaging our atmosphere. We've tried everything. Building shields, moving people underground, even trying to repair the atmosphere. Nothing works long-term. How many people are on your planet? Asked Hanbiel. 8 billion, Dahyun answered. The aliens looked at each other in shock. 8 billion. Taeyong repeated. That's impossible to evacuate. The room grew quiet. General Minho finally spoke, his voice hard. We know. That's why we've been preparing for the worst. But we had to try something, anything, before accepting our fate. Captain Junho studied the humans closely. Their world was dying. They knew they couldn't save everyone, yet they hadn't fallen into chaos or war. Instead, they had worked together to send a message into space, hoping someone might hear them. What surprises me, Junho said, is that your people seem so calm. If this happened to many worlds I know, there would be panic, fighting over resources, every person for themselves. Dahyun smiled sadly. Oh, we had that too, at first. But then something changed. People realized that if these were our final days, we should face them with dignity. Together. Soo-jin added, we may not survive as a species, Captain, but we refuse to die without trying every possibility, without reaching out to the stars one last time. Junho felt something he hadn't expected: respect. These humans, facing extinction, had shown remarkable unity and hope. "I must contact the Galactic Council," he said finally. "I cannot promise they will help, but I will tell them what I've seen here, what you've shown me about your species." As they left the building, Junho saw thousands of humans standing quietly outside, not in panic or protest, but in silent hope, waiting to learn if they had a future. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. In cities, towns, and refugee camps, people watched their screens as Director Da-hyun explained the SHIELD project and what it would require. "We need 10,000 volunteers," he said. "Those who join will connect their minds to the planetary shield. They will protect us all, but at a cost. They must remain in the neural link chambers for as long as the shield is needed. We don't know if that will be months, years, or longer." He paused, looking directly at the camera. "I will be among the first to enter the chamber. This is not a decision to make lightly, but it may be our world's only hope." The response was beyond anything they had expected. Within hours, over 2 million people volunteered. At the United Earth Council headquarters, Soo-jin stared at the numbers on her screen in disbelief. 2 million volunteers, she said. "How do we choose just 10,000? General Minho shook his head. "We can't choose. It would take too long. We need to set up testing centers immediately to find those most compatible with the neural link technology." Outside, lines formed at every testing center. People waited patiently for hours, sometimes days, to be scanned. Families came together, supporting each other. Some people traveled hundreds of miles through dangerous radiation zones to reach a center. In one small testing center, an elderly farmer named Hyun-woo stood in line, leaning on his walking stick. When it was his turn, the young technician looked concerned. "Sir, you understand what this would mean if you're selected. You would leave your farm, your life." Hyun-woo nodded. "I'm 72 years old. I've lived my life. Let the young ones keep living theirs." Behind him, a teenage girl named Young-ji waited with her parents. Her mother was crying. "You're only 16, her father said. "You have your whole life ahead of you." Young-ji hugged them both. "What life will that be if our planet dies? Besides, I tested well in school for neural patterns. I might be able to help." Meanwhile, trouble was brewing. At the Galactic Council, Jin Seo's delaying tactics had finally run their course. The Council demanded to know why Earth needed such specific resources and technology. "We have reports of unusual activity on your planet," said Rilexa, the Council leader. "Are you developing weapons?" Jin Seo tried to remain calm. "Not weapons. We are simply trying to make better use of the humanitarian aid you've provided." But the Council wasn't fooled. They voted to send an inspection fleet to Earth immediately. Back at the project base, Captain Junho received the warning from Jin Seo. "The Council fleet will arrive in 3 days, he told the team. "We're out of time." Im-woo looked up from her work. "The main neural chamber is nearly complete. We can begin loading volunteers tomorrow." "Will it be ready in time?" asked Junho. "It has to be," she replied simply. That night, Captain Junho made the hardest decision of his life. He sent a message to his crew scattered around Earth. "The Council is coming. When they arrive, I will stand with Earth. Anyone who wishes to avoid charges of treason should return to the Starlight now and claim you were following my orders under duress." To his surprise, not a single crew member left their post. The next morning, the first groups of selected volunteers arrived at the main neural chamber. It was an enormous circular room beneath the city, with thousands of reclining chairs arranged in concentric circles. Glowing blue lines connected each chair to a central column. Hyun-woo shuffled in with a group of elderly volunteers. Young-ji came with other teenagers who had shown exceptional neural compatibility. Director Da-hyun greeted them at the entrance. "You are giving up your individual lives to save our collective future. There is no greater sacrifice, no greater honor." As the volunteers took their places, technicians attached neural sensors to their heads. Yunwu monitored the system from a control room above. "Begin the link sequence," she ordered. One by one, the volunteers closed their eyes as their minds connected to the system. Their faces showed a moment of surprise, then wonder, as they felt themselves becoming part of something larger. Outside, the first sections of the planetary shield began to form in the sky. 5 years had passed since the day the shield first covered Earth. The once dying planet now thrived under its protective blue glow. The Starlight Asterisk entered Earth's orbit, its familiar shape drawing little attention among the many galactic council ships that now regularly visited the planet. On the bridge, Captain Junho stood with his first officer, Mireille, watching Earth grow larger on the view screen. "It's hard to believe it's been 5 years, Mireille said. Junho nodded. 5 years since we almost faced execution for treason. That day had changed everything. When the Council fleet had failed to penetrate the shield, Rilexei had demanded that Captain Junho and his crew surrender. But before any arrests could be made, ships from 17 different Council species arrived in Earth's orbit. These were ships from worlds that had heard about Earth's struggle. Their captains refused to let the Council punish those who had tried to save an entire species. The standoff had lasted 3 tense days, until the Council finally called for a new vote. The shuttle landed smoothly at the main Earth spaceport. Junho stepped out to find Director Dahyun waiting for him. The human leader looked older now, with gray in his hair, but his eyes were bright and clear. "Welcome back, old friend," Dahyun said, embracing the captain. Together, they boarded a transport that rose above the city. Below them, Earth looked much different than it had 5 years ago. The protective domes were gone, as people could now live safely on the surface again. New buildings with a mix of human and alien designs filled the skyline. "How is the shield holding up?" Junho asked. "Better than ever," replied Dahyun. "We've refined the neural link system so volunteers now serve in 6-month shifts instead of permanently. There's actually a waiting list to participate." The transport headed toward a large circular building at the city center. This was the Neural Link Center, the heart of Earth's shield system. "And how is Jin Seo doing as Earth's representative on the council?" asked Junho. Dahyun smiled. "She's changed more minds than I can count. The Earth Directive she proposed has already helped 3 other species facing extinction." Inside the Neural Link Center, Junho followed Dahyun to an observation room overlooking the main chamber. Hundreds of people sat in comfortable chairs, their eyes closed, minds connected to the shield. The room glowed with soft blue light. "Is that Youngji?" Junho asked, pointing to a young woman near the center. "Yes," said Dahyun. "She serves 1 shift every year, says it keeps her connected to what matters." Junho noticed something unexpected among the volunteers. Some of those people aren't human. "That's new," Dahyun explained. "Last year we discovered that while humans have the strongest neural connection to the shield, other species can join the link if guided by human minds. Now we have volunteers from 12 different worlds." Later that day, Junho visited the old mountain base where it had all started. It was now a research center where scientists from across the galaxy studied the neural link technology. Dr. Hanbiel had stayed on Earth to lead the research. He found her in a small garden behind the main building. Nearby, the elderly farmer Hyunwoo tended some plants, looking content. "The neural link technology has changed everything we thought we knew about consciousness," Hanbiel told him. "We've made breakthroughs in medicine, communication, and energy generation that would have taken centuries otherwise. All because humans refuse to give up," Junho said. Hanbiel smiled. "That's what I've learned after 5 years here. Human technology wasn't more advanced. Human brains weren't inherently better. What saved them was their stubborn refusal to accept the impossible, their willingness to sacrifice for one another, and their unshakable hope even when facing certain doom." As the sun set, Junho stood at the edge of the mountain, looking up at the shield that shimmered faintly in the evening light. What had begun as a desperate SOS into the darkness had led to a revolution across the galaxy. Earth was no longer the unknown planet at the edge of the galaxy. It was a beacon of hope, a reminder that even the impossible could be overcome with enough determination. The humans had not only saved themselves, they had changed the galaxy forever. Dawn broke over Earth with an angry red glow. The atmosphere had grown so thin that harmful radiation poured down on the planet. In most areas, people had moved underground or into protected domes. In the control room above the neural chamber, Yunwu hadn't slept in 3 days. 5,000 volunteers were now connected to the system. Blue shield sections covered about half the planet, but they were still too weak to fully block the radiation. "We need all 10,000 volunteers in place by tonight," she told Captain Junho. "The radiation levels are rising faster than predicted." Junho nodded grimly. "And the Council fleet will arrive tomorrow morning." Just then, the door burst open. Taeyang rushed in, his face pale. "Captain, we just got a message from Jin Seo. The Council fleet changed course during the night. They'll be here in 2 hours." Everyone in the control room froze. 2 hours wasn't enough time. Su Jin turned to Yunwu. "Can we activate the shield with just 5,000 people?" "It won't be strong enough," Yunwu said. "We need at least 8,000 to create a stable shield. Then we need to load 3,000 more volunteers immediately." Dahyun decided. "No more testing for compatibility. Take the next 3,000 in line, whoever they are." Across the city, vehicles rushed to bring the next wave of volunteers to the neural chamber. People hurried inside, some looking scared, others determined. Technicians worked frantically to connect them to the system. In the chamber, Youngji sat in her chair, her eyes closed, her mind already part of the growing shield. She could feel the others around her. Hyunwoo, the old farmer, whose mind was surprisingly strong and steady. A teacher from across the ocean whose thoughts felt like warm sunshine. A doctor whose precise thinking helped stabilize a difficult section of the shield. Together, they were learning to work as one enormous mind, each person adding their strength to the whole. Outside Earth's atmosphere, the Galactic Council fleet appeared in a flash of light. 20 large ships surrounded the planet, led by Rilex's command vessel. "Scan the planet," Rilexe ordered. "Find out what they're doing with our technology." The officer at the scanner frowned. "Sir, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns covering half the planet. It appears to be a shield of some kind." "Impossible," said Rilexe. "No species has the technology to shield an entire planet." "Sir," said another officer, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." On the screen appeared Captain Junho, standing beside Director Dahyun. "Council Leader Rilexe," Junho said formally. "I confess that I have disobeyed Council orders. I have helped the humans attempt to save their world." "You have committed treason, Captain," Rilexe replied coldly. "You and your crew will face justice. As for the humans, they have misused Council technology. We must shut down whatever device they are building." "We cannot allow that," said Dahyun. "Our shield is our only hope." Rilex's eyes narrowed. "You have no choice. Power down your shield project immediately, or we will be forced to disable it." The transmission ended. In the control room, Junho turned to Yunwu. "How many volunteers are connected now?" 7,000, she replied. "Almost 8. But we're running out of time." In the neural chamber, the volunteers could sense the danger above them. Though their bodies remained still, their joined minds raced to strengthen the shield. Youngji reached out to the others. "We need to work faster." Her thoughts said to the group mind. "We need to protect our home." Around her, thousands of minds answered, joining more tightly together. The blue glow of the chamber brightened as their combined will poured into the shield. In orbit, the Council fleet prepared to fire. Rilexe gave Earth 30 minutes to shut down their project. The time was almost up. "Power weapons," he ordered. Suddenly, an officer called out, "Sir, the shield, it's growing." On their view screens, the Council ships watched as the blue sections of S.H.I.E.L.D. rapidly expanded, joining together, racing to cover the entire planet. "Fire now, before it's complete," Riluxa commanded. The lead ships fired energy beams toward Earth. But as the beams hit the growing shield, something unexpected happened. The shield didn't break. Instead, it absorbed the energy and grew stronger. Below, in the control room, Yunwu watched in amazement. All 10,000 volunteers are now connected. The shield is stabilizing. Outside, the blue shield closed its final gap. Earth was completely covered in a shimmering blue barrier, glowing with the combined will of 10,000 human minds. The small meeting room on the Starlight was crowded. Captain Junho sat at the head of the table with the human representatives on one side and his crew on the other. "What you're suggesting is treason," Tae-young said, his voice low. "The Council made its decision." "The Council decided to let an entire species die," replied Junho. "I cannot accept that." Dr. Hanbliel nodded. "Neither can I. The humans deserve a chance." Professor Yunwu spread her plans on the table. "The shield technology is possible. My team has been working on it since the crisis began. We just need more advanced materials and knowledge." Myre, the first officer, looked troubled. "Captain, helping them goes against direct orders. We could lose everything. Our ranks, our ship, our freedom." Junho looked at each of his crew members. "I won't order any of you to help. Those who wish to return to the Council can take our second shuttle. I won't think less of you." The room fell silent. Finally, Ji-Soo, the young communications specialist, spoke up. "My grandmother used to tell me that the true measure of a person is what they do when no one is watching. The Council isn't watching us now. What we do next will show who we really are." One by one, the crew members nodded their agreement. Even Tae-young, though he still looked unhappy. "Very well," said Junho. "Let's begin." On Earth, a hidden base was quickly established in a remote mountain area. Equipment from the Starlight was secretly brought down, along with materials borrowed from Council supply depots. Yunwu worked day and night with her human team and their new alien allies. Progress was slow and frustrating. "The energy requirement is still too high," she said one night, rubbing her tired eyes. "We can't generate enough power." That's when Yi-jun spoke up. He was a Valorian engineer who had joined the project after hearing about it from a friend on the Starlight. "What if we don't try to power the whole shield at once?" he suggested. "What if we create smaller shield sections and link them together?" Yunwu's eyes widened. "Like a quilt." "A what?" asked Yi-jun. "A blanket made of many small pieces," Yunwu explained. "Yes, that could work." Meanwhile, Director Da-hyun and Chief Diplomat Jin-seo worked to keep the Galactic Council distracted. Jin-seo had gone to the Council as Earth's official representative, tasked with negotiating the details of the humanitarian aid package. "We need more time," Jin-seo told Da-hyun during a secure call. "The Council is getting suspicious about all the specific resources I'm requesting. Keep asking for small changes to the agreements," Da-hyun advised. "Request meetings with different representatives. Anything to buy us more days." On screen, Jin-seo nodded. "How is the project progressing?" "Slowly," admitted Da-hyun. "But Yunwu never sleeps, and these alien scientists who've joined us are brilliant. We're making progress." Back at the mountain base, the first test of a shield section was ready. Everyone gathered outside as Yunwu and Yi-jun made final adjustments to the equipment. "This is just a small section," Yunwu warned. "If it works, it will create a shield about 100 meters across." Captain Junho stood nearby with Dr. Hanbliel. "Even if it works, can we scale it up to cover an entire planet?" he asked quietly. "I don't know," Hanbliel admitted, "but I've learned not to underestimate these humans." Yunwu looked up at the sky, where the harmful radiation from their damaged atmosphere continued to pour down. Then she pressed the activation button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a faint blue light appeared above them, spreading outward like ripples in water. It grew stronger, forming a transparent dome over the test area. Everyone held their breath as Yunwoo checked her instruments. "It's working," she shouted. "The radiation levels inside the shield are dropping to normal." The humans and aliens cheered together. It was a small victory, but an important one. "We need to make it bigger," Yunwoo said, already focused on the next step. "Much bigger." Captain Junho smiled. These humans never stopped pushing forward, even when facing the impossible. The neural link chamber looked like something from a dream. Soft blue lights glowed along the walls. In the center stood a single chair surrounded by delicate metal arcs. Director Dahyun sat in the chair, his face calm but his hands gripping the armrests tightly. Technicians attached small sensors to his head, while Yunwoo checked the readings on her screen. "Remember," she said, "this is just a test. We want to see if one person can maintain a small shield section. If you feel any pain or discomfort, we stop immediately." Captain Junho and Dr. Hanbiel watched from behind a glass wall. Several other scientists and engineers crowded around them. "Is this safe?" Junho asked quietly. Hanbiel hesitated. "We don't know. Nothing like this has ever been done before." Yunwoo's voice came over the speaker. "Ready, Director." Dahyun nodded. "Ready." Yunwoo pressed a button, and the arcs around the chair began to glow brighter. Dahyun's body stiffened, his eyes wide open but seeing nothing in the room. On the monitors, his brain activity spiked dramatically. Outside the building, a shield section snapped into existence, stronger and more stable than any they had created before. "It's working," Hanbiel whispered. "It's actually working." For 5 minutes, Dahyun maintained the connection. When Yunwoo finally shut down the system, he slumped in the chair, exhausted but smiling. "I could feel it," he said weakly. "I could feel the shield like it was part of my own body. It was beautiful." News of the successful test spread quickly through the base. That night, the team gathered to discuss next steps. "The neural link works better than we hoped," said Yunwoo. "One person can maintain a shield section covering about 1 square kilometer. So to cover the entire planet," Yijun did the math in his head, "we would need approximately 10,000 people." Yunwoo finished for him. The room fell silent. 10,000 people who would need to give up their normal lives, possibly forever. "Is there no other way?" asked Mireille. Sung Min shook his head. "We've tried everything else. This is our only option." Captain Junho leaned forward. "Even if you find 10,000 volunteers, how will you build enough neural link chambers in time? And where will you get enough power?" These were good questions. The room grew quiet again until Du-jin, who had been silent most of the evening, spoke up. "What if we don't build separate chambers? What if we create one large chamber where people can link together?" Yijun's eyes widened. "A shared neural space. That's never been done successfully." "Humans have never tried it," Du-jin replied. "And our brains seem to have abilities yours don't when it comes to this technology." Yunwoo was already drawing on a tablet. "If we link multiple minds together, they could share the load. It might even reduce the total number of people needed. And solve the power problem," added Sung Min, excited now. "If the human brain is somehow tapping into interdimensional energy, multiple connected brains might generate their own power." As the scientists continued talking, Captain Junho stepped outside for air. The night sky was cloudy from the atmospheric damage, but a few stars peeked through. He wondered what the council would think if they could see humans now, not giving up, but finding new solutions, offering themselves to save their world. Dr. Hanbiel joined him. "Are you thinking about the council?" Junho nodded. "They would never believe what's happening here." "I'm not sure I believe it myself," Hanbiel admitted. "These humans, They're unlike any species I've studied, even facing extinction. They keep finding hope. Inside, Yanwu was already drawing plans for a massive neural link chamber that could connect hundreds of human minds simultaneously. It would be built underneath the largest city dome, where radiation protection was strongest. Time was running out. Earth's atmosphere grew weaker every day. But for the first time since the project began, they had a real chance of success. "We need to tell the world," Dahyun said. "We need volunteers." The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with representatives from over 200 spacefaring species. They sat in rising circles around a central platform where Captain Junho stood, finishing his report about Earth. In conclusion, he said, "The humans have perhaps 3 months before their planet becomes uninhabitable. They are 8 billion in number. They have shown remarkable unity in the face of extinction." The council leader, a tall being named Rilexa, spoke in a deep voice. "Thank you, Captain. The council will now discuss possible responses." For the next hour, representatives debated what to do. Most agreed that evacuation was impossible. Even with every ship in the galaxy, they could only save a tiny fraction of humans. "We can send supplies to make their final days more comfortable," suggested one representative. "We should study their culture before it's lost," said another. "Perhaps we could preserve some humans as a sample of their species," offered a third. Captain Junho listened with growing frustration. They were talking about humans as if they were already gone. Then the doors at the back of the hall opened. Everyone turned to see the small group entering. Director Dahyun, Chief Scientist Sujin, and another human woman carrying a large case. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded Rilexa. "Humans are not council members. They cannot attend this session." Captain Junho stepped forward. "I invited them. Council leader. They have a right to be here when we discuss their fate." Before Rilexa could object further, Sujin spoke. "Honorable Council, we understand you cannot evacuate our world. We are not asking for that." The council members looked at each other in confusion. "What are you asking for?" Rilexa finally asked. The third human stepped forward. She was younger than the others, with intense eyes and quick movements. "My name is Professor Yanwu. I believe we can save Earth, but we need your help." She opened her case and activated a holographic projector. Above it appeared the image of Earth surrounded by a shimmering shield. "We propose to create an energy shield around our planet," Yanwu explained. "This shield would block the harmful radiation from our sun while allowing light and heat to pass through." A murmur ran through the council chamber. One scientific advisor stood up. "Such a shield is theoretically possible, but it would require enormous power, more than your entire planet currently produces, and the technology to create it is beyond your level of development." "We know," Yanwu said simply. "That's why we need your help." The council chamber erupted in voices. Many representatives spoke at once. "Impossible. The energy requirements alone would be staggering. No shield of that size has ever been built. Even our most advanced worlds couldn't maintain such a structure." Rilexa raised his hand for silence. "Professor Yanwu, what you propose has never been done before. The technology exists only in theory. It would take years to develop, and you have only months." Yanwu didn't back down. "Then we should start immediately." Captain Junho watched with admiration. Even now, facing impossible odds, the humans refused to give up. Rilexa shook his head. "The Council cannot commit to such an uncertain project. We will send humanitarian aid to make your people comfortable in their final days. That is our decision." The room fell silent. Director Dahyun stepped forward, his face calm but determined. "With all respect, Council Leader, we did not come this far to be told how to die comfortably. If you won't help us live, we'll find another way." As the humans turned to leave, Captain Junho made a decision that would change his life forever. He stepped off the platform and joined them. "Where are you going, Captain?" asked Rilexa. "To help them find another way." Junho replied, "Because that's what I would want someone to do for me." As they left the council chamber, Dr. Handboyle and several other crew members from the Starlight joined them in the corridor. "The council may have given up on Earth," Junho said quietly, "but we haven't." The message came in the middle of the night shift. It was weak, broken, and barely made it through the vast darkness of space. "Anyone, please help us. We are dying." On board the massive Galactic Council station, a young communications officer named Do-1 nearly missed it. The signal was so faint that it barely registered on the systems, but something made him check the deep space scanners one more time. "Sir, I'm picking up a distress call," Do-1 called out, his fingers moving quickly over the control panel. Station Commander Kita walked over, his 4 eyes blinking with curiosity. He was not human. None of the council races were, but he had dealt with many species in his 200 years of service. "Source?" he asked simply. "Unknown, sir. It's coming from the edge of the outer rim. System G4721. No known civilizations in that area." Kita frowned. "Play it again." The message repeated, crackling through static. "Anyone, please help us. We are dying." The voice sounded strange to their ears, filled with an emotion that many council species had evolved beyond. "Prepare a report for the council," Kite ordered, "and find me a reconnaissance ship." Captain Junho stood tall on the bridge of the Starlight, looking at the holographic star map. His ship was the fastest in the Galactic Council fleet, designed for first contact and emergency response. At 42, he was young for a captain, but his record was perfect. "Captain, we have our orders," said his first officer, Mireille. She handed him a datapad. "We are to investigate the source of the signal in System J4721 and report back." Junho read the orders and nodded. "How long until we reach the system?" 3 days at maximum speed," replied the pilot, Gaio. "Make it 2, said Junho. From the security station, Tai Yum looked up with concern. "Captain, we know nothing about this signal. It could be a trap. Pirates have been known to fake distress calls." Dr. Handboyle, the ship's xenobiologist, shook her head. "The signal pattern doesn't match any known pirate group. Besides, that system is too remote even for pirates." "Exactly why it's perfect for an ambush," Taeyum countered. Junho raised his hand to end the argument. "We'll approach with caution, but we will approach. Someone needs help, and we're going to provide it. That's our job." 2 days later, the Starlight dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of System J4721. The crew stared at the main screen in surprise. "That can't be right," Mayray said. "The star is unstable. Our records show this system shouldn't be habitable." Yet there it was, a small blue planet, third from its sun. And from this planet came the signal, now stronger and clearer. "Anyone, please help us. We are dying. This is Earth calling to any intelligent life. Our sun is killing us. Please, if anyone can hear this, we don't want to die." Junho leaned forward, scanned the planet. Handboyle read the incoming data with wide eyes. "Captain, there's a civilization down there. Technology level, surprisingly advanced for an unknown species. But there's something wrong with their atmosphere. It's breaking down. Radiation levels are climbing." "Life signs?" Junho asked. "Billions," Handboyle whispered. "There are billions of them." The bridge fell silent. The Galactic Council had protocols for first contact, but nothing that covered a situation like this. An unknown species facing extinction, sending desperate calls into the void. "Open a channel," Junho ordered. "Match their communication technology." After a moment, the communications officer nodded. Junho stood straight, cleared his throat, and spoke the words that would change the galaxy forever. "People of Earth, this is Captain Junho of the Galactic Council ship Starlight. We have received your distress call. We are here to help. On the planet below, in a crowded control room, a group of humans stared at each other in shocked silence as the response came through their speakers. The first confirmation in human history that they were not alone in the universe, and it had come just in time.